So cool. I'm sitting down with Jane and MJ and Siji to talk a bit about the process of how this awesome piece came together. Jane, what was the original vision for this project and how did it develop as you started working?
Great question. Well, I was delighted to be asked to uh, be one of the artists involved in this project, the Out of the Box project. And I was thinking about poems related to workplaces, because I'm writing a book about that right now. And so I was kind of going through some of the material that I had written and thinking what would be rich with images and movement, and so I sort of settled on a poem that we used in a different form eventually. But right away I thought if this could be accompanied by music, and I thought like the piano just felt right, and if this could be there could be a performance by a dancer who is very physical, very kind of angular, like not ballet flowy. That's kind of what I had in my head. And, you folks at NDAC have been so amazing at connecting with potential artists, at the beginning. So that made my job easy of trying to figure out who would be good to work with.
And what were some of the inspirations, forces, or feelings behind this project?
The inspiration, in my other work that I do besides the creative artistic work, I spent a lot of time in industrial settings, supporting injured workers back to work and trying to make some of their jobs safer and less physically demanding. And so, and I really don't think that much has been written about that. And given that we all spend, a substantial chunk of our lives working, I don't think you would necessarily know that from reading, reading literature, because not a lot of people spend time talking about work or really exploring that, I don't think. And so my inspiration was partly just wanting to make that a focus, highlight some of the physical demands that workers do, and what they work through when they're coming back from an injury.
So this one is for everyone. How has working with artists of other disciplines informed your own practice?
Doing a collaboration was amazing. I wanted to, so this poem started out as it's a poem that is being read as part of this. And it started out as a very narrative poem, meaning, it told a story and had a lot of words. And it ended up more as a lyric poem where I paid much more attention to sound and a little bit less to story. And I paid a lot more attention to sound and image. And my thought with that is that I really needed the dancer and the musician to fill in the narrative piece of that. And so it was an exercise in trust and believing that it would work out well, which was interesting because I didn't know either one of the artists, either MJ or CG, before we started this whole endeavor. So that was one piece that I found like, oh, this is really interesting. It pushes comfort zones a little bit. I'm used to writing in my office quietly and getting to be the master of my own domain, and well, except for editors and things like that. But so to really collaborate on a project and have build some trust in a short time and really be open to whatever the other two artists comes up with was it was a really great process. And I think the other thing I want to say about collaboration is that one of the things I got from it was, we're living in pretty divisive times right now, at least in countries that are relatively privileged, and there's a lot of divisiveness, and I feel like collaborating on something and then having a product that is greater than the sum of its parts is a really great reminder that um, we can be that too, like in our lives, that we can together, we can kind of be greater than the sum of our parts. And also just that community piece is so important. We all want community, and it's been a struggle over the past couple of years. So I was really grateful to NDAC that they wanted collaborative projects done, because I think it's a beautiful antidote in a way to the times we're living through right now.
It was very interesting. Usually I'm used to just, being in my room and just writing by myself without having to really consider other people. And I think with this project, like, I had never written music to a poem before, so that was a challenge at first. And then having to think about MJ dancing as well, because if it was just up to me, I would just have the piano and strings and just, my own style. But I had to consider the other artists I'm working with, and yeah, it was very interesting. It was challenging at first, but it ended up being a lot of fun and interesting.
Like none of what I did could have happened without the creation of what Siji did as a result of what Jane did. So it was very much a waterfall effect. I would have nothing to do other than stand here like this if they hadn't done their part. So, in that part, that's exciting for me as a choreographer, as a dancer. I haven't danced abstract contemporary in years, like years. I'm a heels and a hip hop dancer. So getting pushed in that was both incredibly vulnerable and challenging for me. So yeah, what it's done for me is that it's kind of opened up that box a little bit and been like, oh yeah, I am capable of this, and also removed a level of fear from approaching it a little bit more myself again. Yeah.
Any moments from the process that stick out as favorites?
Recording and seeing MJ dance and everything come together, then I felt, okay, yeah, we have something really good. And yeah, the whole process, just because I think initially I wasn't meant to be in the video, and I'm glad I was there, to watch everything and see, the number of takes that we had to do. And maybe I shouldn't tell you guys that, but yeah, it was, I think that was my favorite part, just us recording and shooting the video, and yeah, just being there and playing the piano.
Yeah, seeing it all come together. None of our parts individually are as strong as they are together. So yeah, my dance would be nothing without the music, and the music wouldn't exist without the words. So, and seeing it all put together visually, yeah, it's exciting. It's an accomplishment.
Just the process of whittling down my piece of the puzzle to a poem that I hoped would work, and then feeling the other artists' responses was just so gratifying. And then, hearing Siji's music for the first time, his first draft, and seeing what MJ, the direction she was going for the first time, they were just beautiful moments of going, yes, we can do this together, and this is going to be a powerful piece. And then of course, I think at the end when we wrapped with the filming, and just realizing how everyone had poured their skill and their talent and their energy into this was, it's a beautiful thing. So, and getting to know two more beautiful artists in Nelson is nice too.
And Jane, one more for you. What's it like being given artistic freedom and to be paid to create whatever you want?
I think that creative projects, they have to come from an organic place. And if they've been prescribed, it doesn't work as much for me. So I really appreciated that creative freedom. I think that projects would have been stifled otherwise. I mean, look at the richness of 3 really different projects that are the outcome. And if there wasn't that freedom and the time, quite frankly, to collaborate on things, they just simply wouldn't happen. I mean, I think creative projects they're certainly the most I use my brain in terms of, we're creating something from nothing. And that is like an amazing thing each time it's done. And to do that with 3 people is, I don't see it doesn't get any better than that, and to get paid to do it. So it's, yeah, I feel a lot of gratitude. It's been a highlight of my year for sure.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for your time. It was such a treat to help watch this project come to life. I will hand it back to Terry to introduce our final pod.